Welcome to Gardening with Daddy Pete. Let's join our host, Melvin York.
Well, good morning, everyone. This is Melvin York, and you're listening to Gardening with Daddy Pete. For today, I'd like to start a new segment, and we will entitle it, so if you go through our archives, it's going to be called Dig In First-Time Gardeners. Getting a lot of questions now from first-time gardeners whether I should garden, what's the benefits of gardening. We're going to go over some different points of that today and give you the reasons that you should go ahead, take the leap of faith, go in and start your gardening. And I think that you will find that to be very rewarding for you and has been for many, many families that's went ahead and tried it and they've had great success. Now, most of the first-time gardeners or wanting to start gardening, their biggest fear is failure. Well, let me reassure you that anytime that you grow crops, you can ask any farmer that's been doing it for 30, 40, 50 years that you do have crop failures, that you do have different circumstances. Sometimes it can be a drought if you're doing row gardenings and you don't have a way to water. But the way that we're doing gardens nowadays with the raised beds, and we'll talk about different segments of that you can control the water, you can control the growing so much better than you can out in a 100-acre field. Different varieties have come through. We're going to talk about varieties some. Also, one of the things, the difference part of the seeds, while that we do have different seeds, and they are different in buying seeds, they are different in type of plants. There's plants for areas. We're going to talk about zones or where you can grow things, where you can't. So we're going to hit on all those today. Now, at Daddy Pete, one thing that we do with the Daddy Pete's is we do compost our dairy cow manure. We have a lot of people talk about, and I want to talk about the difference between cow manures because there's a lot of bad publicity on the internet about cow manure. And yes, there are some out there that I would not recommend using. I want to tell you the difference between ours. Again, we're a farm that's been around since 1907, and our slogan, our motto, our heart is we help you grow. So if you go to our webpage, which is daddypetes.com, you can look at our different products. You can go through. We do archive all the podcasts. You can sign up for a monthly newsletter, and we intend to do exactly what we say we will do on our webpage. We help you grow. And yes, I've had a lot of people ask me, okay, I've sent in comments. Do you answer those? Yes, I personally do answer those myself. Believe me, if you have a question or comment, I want to hear it, and I will get back to you either in the form of a phone call, email, whatever way that you choose. It could even be a text message. So yes, I will answer your questions if you do have one. If I don't have an answer, we will find you the correct answer. So just to let you know. Now, let's get on just a little bit more. New gardener. Should I garden? Here it is, Labor Day, beautiful day. And you're saying, well, okay, it's too late to start growing now. It's never too late to start growing. You can always prepare. That's the one thing that you're going to find out in the gardening world is you be prepared. You want to plan. Plan is a big thing. One thing that you will hear me say over and over again in our podcast is keep a journal. Start out with a journal. Now, you say, well, what do I put in the journal? Okay, let me give you some examples of what to put in your journal. Number one is I like to keep up with the temperatures. After I've planted something, I'm going to keep up with the temperatures during that growing cycle of that different plant or variety or vegetable, fruit, herb, whatever the case may be. I like to keep up with that. Rainfall, my watering, I like to keep up with that. Okay, this way I can go back and look and say, okay, what has changed from this year or from last year? What's changing now? What did I do then? How did my crop turn out? That's another thing you want to look at. How did it progress? Were you happy with the way it did? When did you fertilize? How much fertilizer did you use? What was the response of the plant? You take these little notes and you keep them on. And here's the big thing. What variety did I plant? And how did that do for me? Do you plant two different varieties and try them out? Or do you have friends that garden and do they recommend, well, I've used this variety, but I like this one better? Always try to use heirloom seed, heirloom plants, and organic plants. Now, the reason being, we have so many different things. We have hybrid plants out here. Hybrid plants, a lot of them are fine. They've been crossed between one or more heirloom seeds to come up with this variety of a hybrid plant. But the bad thing about that is, yes, this first year you do get a nice tomato, or you get nice green beans, or you get a different type squash, or a different type cucumber. But you cannot save those seeds, because the next year they will not hold to the same characteristic. They will not hold true as they did the first year that they were planted. You have to be rebought again. With heirloom seeds, you can continually, they're open pollinated, so you can continually save those seeds yourself. Number one, saving you money. Number two, keeping to a true plant that is true to the nature of its plant itself and will reproduce the same thing year and year again. So you want to make sure that you do keep heirloom varieties as much as you can. Save those seeds. There's no need to save the hybrid seed, or most definitely you don't want the GMO type or genetically modified seeds, because you don't know what you're going to get from one year to the next with those either. So that's the first tip you want to do when you start gardening. Make a garden plan. Now, if you're a first-time gardener, you want to make that garden plan. And here's some of the things you're going to do. You're going to think, well, get this out of your head to start with. Can I garden? Yes, you can. The answer is yes, 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 yes. There is nobody that cannot garden if you follow some easy steps, and we will walk you through that, help you with that. That is what we do here. And there's so much information out there, but there's also some information that's not always correct. So we want to point you in the right way. Another question is, okay, I've started this garden. What if I fail? There is no failures. Okay. Everything's a learning experience. Education cost. Okay. Always keep that in mind. Right. I tried this. Where did I go wrong? We're going to help you with that. Hopefully, as we walk you through with our podcast, with your questions, with other information we point you to, you will not fail. Okay. Maybe you won't have the result that you want at times, but we'll figure out why it didn't come out the way you wanted, or you got the harvest that you were thinking you were going to get, and we'll work through that. Again, that's why we're here. We help you grow. Keep that in mind here at Daddy Pete's. We are really, really serious about that. While you're there, and you're going to ask, okay, what is the benefits of growing my own food? Well, I don't know if you've been to the grocery store lately, but number one, how about freshness? Number two, how about, are you buying a GMO, a genetically modified organism? If you'll start looking on your labels, your cans, everything in the store, you're finding a lot where it says made from a genetically modified organism, or that. We have fake milk out now. We have fake meat. And yes, we'll talk about that also in these segments. We have GMO vegetables. We have food that's been altered and changed, and the genes been changed in it. You don't want to feed your family something that's not healthy. Not all of these have been proven to be healthy. And we do know that the old heirloom seed, the organically grown, has always been the healthy choice. So what can I grow? That's another question we're going to cover on some of these segments. What can I grow? You can grow vegetables. You can grow fruits. If you landscaping or a landscaping yard instead of the shade trees you're putting in, install some fruit trees. And again, this is Labor Day. It's coming up here in the next, and the Piedmont of North Carolina here. The next 30 days will be a good time to start planting fruit trees and shrubs, like blueberry bushes would be another good one. Just for instance, you could be setting out raspberries, your grapevines. These are things that you can do. Back to the trees. There's different fruit trees. As you know, you've got peaches, pears, apples, just to name a few. You've got plum trees you can set out. Also, nuts. Pecan trees can be set out, or pecans, depending on what part of the country you live in. Walnuts, different varieties of walnut. Now, you'll see the old black walnut growing wild here in the Carolinas. But if you want the thin shell like the English walnut, you can buy those varieties too. So there's all kinds of different nut trees out there available that will grow in our area. And the question arises, how do I know if this will survive in my area? If you will go to the USDA, they have what they call the USDA hardiness zones. Look up what zone you live in, and it's done by numbers. And it'll also list, For example, say that I'm in zone 6, it could have a zone 6A, 6B, and you look at the line on there. When you're looking at that plant, it will have a tag on it, or you can look it up on the internet, that variety. Is it compatible with the zone or the hardiness zone that you live in? That's the number one thing when you talk about failure. A lot of times we fail by putting California plants in the cold climate of North Carolina in the winter times. They're not ready to survive that. Or we put a tropical plant in, hoping like a banana tree that it's going to grow here and produce bananas like it would in the tropics. No, it's not. So we look through hardiness zones. That is a big thing to do and keep up with. How much space do you have to garden? Okay. Well, I don't have enough space to garden. Yes, you do. There are so many different ways to garden now. You can take, for instance, you can grow in pots. If you lack space, you could actually do that on your deck, set it around in different areas of your yard. You can do grow bags, which is another good way to go. Raised beds, if you have a little bit more. Take up some of that lawn space, put in some raised beds. Raised beds will produce a lot of vegetables or a lot of herbs for you. And, here's the thing about it. It's fresh. You go pick it straight out of the garden. Then if you do have enough land, you can actually row garden, put your bigger things in like corn and the okras, and we'll talk about that. Well, we are getting close to time here now. So I'm just giving you a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about in the weeks to come. So we do ask you to tune into that. Go to our website, which is daddypetes.com, and you can click on there and hear our podcast. We do archive them for you. Again, as I spoke earlier in the broadcast here, that you can leave us a comment, ask us a question, we'll answer that. Also, sign up for our monthly garden tip newsletter. That's free to you. We email it to you also, and no charge to you. We don't share any of our information. And look at our products. They can help you grow. We'll talk more about how our products work and what you're doing in the segments to come. Well, I want to thank you for listening today. I do wish each and every one of you a happy Labor Day. And I'm giving you that reference of Labor Day because gardening can start now, and we're going to talk about that in the next segment. So happy gardening, everyone. This is Melvin York, and you've been listening to Gardening with Daddy Pete.
Thank you for joining today's Gardening with Daddy Pete. You can check out our website at daddypetes.com for additional gardening tips and our podcast at gardeningwithdaddypete.podbean.com. You can also join us on Amazon, Apple, or Spotify.